What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to The Breakdown. This is a series where I analyze subscriber gameplay to help you improve. In today's episode, we're going to be analyzing a team deathmatch gameplay on the map Stronghold from Gamer4Derp. Alright guys, so as always, let's start off with the class I decided to use. So we've got the ICR with Quick Draw, Suppressor, and Stock. Now the first issue I see here is a suppressor on the ICR. The ICR really excels in those sort of mid to longer range gunfights because it has such little recoil, and it's got a relatively slow rate of fire, and it doesn't deal very good damage up close. So up close, the ICR is not a very good gun. It's outclassed by most of the other guns in the game. At mid to longer range, that's where it excels. And with a suppressor, you're actually cutting down your 4-shot kill range pretty significantly. Without suppressor, it's going to be a 4-shot kill at pretty much any range you'll realistically find yourself in the game. As soon as you pop that suppressor on, now you have that 5-shot kill range coming up fairly often as long as you're keeping your gunfights at those longer ranges. So suppressor is not recommended on the ICR in my opinion, but he did play to the strengths of this. He wasn't getting into too many gunfights where he was getting into those super long gunfights, and therefore he was actually staying still within the 4-shot kill range, so at least he played it off well with having a suppressor on the ICR. For perks, we have Blind Eye, Ghost, Hardwired, and Awareness. And the first big issue I'm seeing here is Blind Eye. I really don't recommend having Blind Eye on just your regular everyday sort of class where you're just going into the match right at the beginning with Blind Eye on. And the simple reason for this is it's a completely wasted perk if the enemy team doesn't get those air-based streaks, which they didn't this entire game. From what I remember, I skimmed through the gameplay fairly quickly, and I don't remember ever seeing an air-based streak from an enemy, so therefore you just wasted 2 points out of your 10 on Blind Eye because you had to use a wild card to get the second tier 1 perk. So instead, I would have swapped this for something like Fast Hands. Fast Hands would have helped you a whole lot more in a whole lot more situations, and Blind Eye was essentially completely useless. I'm not saying it's useless all the time. It's always nice to have that class that has Blind Eye in case the enemy starts putting up rates and stuff. But until they do, it's pretty much a completely wasted perk. Other than that though, it's a pretty good class. He was using Ghost quite well, like he is moving around the map quite a bit throughout the gameplay. He's not just camping with Ghost, so he is staying off the enemy's UAV, which is excellent. Awareness is always a good choice, as well as Hardwired. So overall, not a terrible class, just basically Blind Eye I would be swapping out. Alright guys, so getting into the gameplay here is something that I see quite a bit from him. It's a pretty big mistake that I do see quite a few people make. He's being real cautious like this, and then when he actually comes out and has a nice piece of cover that he can use and he can slowly come around there pre-aiming and ready for a gunfight, he strafes right out in the open and doesn't have any cover at all. So, I mean, it didn't get him killed there, but it could have very easily gotten him killed, and I see him do this a few times throughout the gameplay in quite a few different situations. Now, right here, he sprints around this corner when he has a great piece of cover again. So, similar sort of situation, he should have come up to the piece of cover, had a peek around the corner, and then gone around the corner once he knew it was safe. Especially because he doesn't have Fast Hands on this class, so he doesn't want to get caught mid-sprint. So skipping ahead a little bit here, this is the overall theme I wanted to cover for today's video, and that is Minimap Awareness and Enemy Prediction. So right now, he just came off spawn from where the C spawns are if we're playing Domination. There shouldn't be any enemies over there. It's pretty clear there's no enemies there. He's got a teammate on the left-hand side of the map that looks like he's got that lane locked down, so it's not likely any enemies could have gotten past him and on his flank. And he's got teammates in the building with him, and they're up top as well as down low, and they've kind of got things locked down, although they're in a bit of a gunfight at the moment. But right now, the area that he should be worrying about is right there, where all the snipers like to sit, all the people with assault rifles, whatever they might be, they just love sitting in this area. That's where his focus should be. He should have come around that corner with his sights up, ready for that. Instead, he actually jumped out and exposed his back to that area. Now, there weren't actually any enemies there at that given moment. They were still coming off spawn, so they hadn't made it there yet. But it's pretty clear that he wasn't sure where to look or what to do exactly in this scenario. That's the place to look. And that really just comes down to Minimap Awareness. And again, right here, we see a very similar sort of thing. Yes, there's an enemy here where he's aiming, but that enemy isn't much of a threat. Look where his teammates are pushing right now. It's pretty clear his teammates are about to take that guy out. He's not a huge threat to him at the moment. Look at what's behind him on the minimap. Absolutely no teammates whatsoever. It's very clear that this is where the enemies are going to be coming from, and at any moment he could be shot in the back from this situation. So the guy he's aiming at right now, he's kind of got tunnel vision on him, and he should just be pretty much ignoring that guy and worrying more so about the bigger threat area, which is behind him. So now that we've recognized this as one of his issues with his gameplay, and you're going to see it several times throughout the gameplay as long as I don't skip through everything, because I don't want to cover the same thing over and over and over again, the biggest way to break this habit and to get into properly predicting enemy flow, in Team Deathmatch at least, is always be aware of your minimap and always be looking for the pockets on the minimap where you don't have teammates. If your teammates are over there, it's unlikely that there are enemies over there, and even if there are enemies over there, they're not usually as much of a threat to you because they're typically dealing with your teammates. So always be looking for those pockets on the minimap where you don't have teammates, and that's likely where you're going to run into your enemies. For this particular player, it will not only save his life more, it will also allow him to find more gunfights, because I feel like that's also something with this gameplay that you see, is it feels like he's really trying to find those gunfights, and when he does find the face-to-face gunfights, he's actually pretty good at winning them. He's winning his face-to-face gunfights fairly often. It's just, it seems like he's running around almost aimlessly trying to find those enemies, and he's just not finding them because he's not taking the right routes, and he just doesn't seem to know how to find where the enemies are unless he's got a UAV sweeping. So find those pockets and you'll be able to find the enemies. So next up, in this situation here, you can see that the enemies are very likely on this far side of the map here because there's a big pocket where he only has one teammate kind of on that half of the map. So it's likely there's going to be enemies here, and he just sprints right around the corner and jumps out the window. That was an extremely risky move, and he's very lucky that there wasn't an enemy set up on one of the many pieces of cover that are over on that side of the map. It's actually very common somebody will be sitting there. So he got extremely lucky here. In this scenario, he would have been much better off having a peek first, seeing if anybody was there, scoping the situation out, and then attacking. Skipping ahead a little bit here, he does pick off a couple kills. He's got pushed up towards the enemy spawn. Again, he doesn't seem to know where the enemies are coming from because they should be coming from behind him right now. But he pops his vision pulse here in a second after getting this kill. And right here is where he's faced with a decision. There's two enemies that get tagged. He's got one on his left, one on his right. Which one should he go for? In my opinion, the best and the safest bet for him is to go for the guy on the left. If he were to take a left and go towards that guy, he's only going to have to deal with that one guy, or it's very likely he's only going to have to deal with that one guy, because otherwise his vision pulse would have tagged some other people that would have been like behind him there. The right guy, on the other hand, if he were to push towards the middle of the map to get to the right guy, he's now putting himself into a situation where he could get sandwiched between two enemies, and he actually does that. Fortunately for him, again, that enemy on the left side of the map didn't turn and actually shoot him in the back here as he was going for the other one. So he did get lucky again here, but he also didn't get any kills out of it. He would have been much better off going for that guy on the left-hand side. So skipping ahead one last time, I just have one more situation I want to analyze with him. I know it's a bit of a shorter episode, but a lot of what we're seeing is just the same thing over and over. But for this one here, he's pushing up into the top of this building here, and he gets vision pulsed. And if you look at the minimap, you can see who vision pulsed him. It's very clear that he saw who vision pulsed him, and he rushed him while still glowing red. When you get vision pulse like this, usually the last thing you want to do is rush the guy that vision pulsed you. It's okay to post up behind cover and wait for him, because a lot of times they get overconfident and way too aggressive because they can see you through the walls, so they think they're basically invincible against you. But rushing them is usually just the worst thing that you can possibly do, because they'll just get set up for you, they can see you coming through the walls, and it's a very easy kill for them. So there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode of The Breakdown. If you have a gameplay that you'd like to be analyzed for a future episode of The Breakdown, all you have to do is send a link to an unlisted YouTube video, at least 720p in quality, and please no commentary or music over it. Send that link to the email address in the description below, and I'll have a look at it, and you might see it in a future episode. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.